Well, good morning, afternoon, everyone. We're thrilled to have you join us today for this long-anticipated session on ECGrid Simplify. My name is Linda Moore, Marketing Director here at Lauren Data, and it is my honor to welcome you all to this live webinar. Most, if not everyone on this call, has a history with Lauren Data and ECGrid. So you already know our platform is a leading backbone network for global business communications. Well, a few short months ago, we expanded our offering to include an API and cloud-based solution for data transformation, something we felt that a good percentage of our market would benefit from. And so ECGrid Simplify was born. And just a moment, there we go. And since then, it has already begun bringing considerable benefits to ISVs and direct customers alike. Here today to present an overview of ECGrid Simplify, we have two esteemed subject matter experts. First, we have Michelle Jacobson, our VP of Product Marketing. Michelle is the founder and creator of ECGrid Simplify, so there's no better person to delve into its features and benefits with you. Alongside Michelle, we have Crystal Kaczynski, Senior VP of Product Management, who, by the way, just celebrated 2 decades with Lauren Data. During those years, Crystal has held several customer-facing positions, having the honor to get to know most of our client base, including many of you on this call. So while Michelle and Crystal present the valuable insights on ECGrid Simplify, we encourage you to ask questions using the Q&A button you should see in the Zoom toolbar. Due to the volume of attendees, your microphones are not enabled, but we hope you'll use your fingers to send in questions and comments through the Q&A, and we'll address as many as we have time for today. Other more personalized questions pertaining to your specific business needs, we'd be more than happy to address on a one-on-one basis anytime after this webinar. So please reach out to us if you'd like to discuss anything further. And now, without further ado, let's explore the world of ECGrid Simplify.
All right. Thank you, Linda. That was a great introduction. Let's see. Linda, can you just make sure that you can see my screen before I start?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. I'm very excited to talk to everyone today about ECGrid Simplify. At the end of the webinar, I hope that you will see that on-premise EDI software and complex integrations are quickly becoming outdated and replaced with cloud applications, which provide better visibility, self-service options, and improved efficiency by connecting multiple platforms into a single application. But first, let's take a quick look at some of the hurdles encountered with on-premise software. Maintenance and updates, whether it's server operating systems, software, or database updates, they always cause problems. And if you're like me, excuse me, if you're like me, you put off any updates until it is no longer avoidable, causing your server and your software to be outdated and possibly missing out on new features. Not to mention the costs associated with maintaining several servers and databases. Another pain point that I always had was long implementation times, and that was due to either having to engage multiple IT teams or due to firewall issues or file system permissions. Even sometimes building maps, the projects just seem to drag on and on. Now we're going to look at how to simplify the future with EDI. That pun was totally intended. So with the new cloud translator that we have, in recent years, there has been a big swing towards managed services. But with managed services, you are beholden to their queue and their schedule. That can also lead to really long implementation times. However, with ECGrid Simplify, you can leverage our crowdsourcing with our map repository, which can help speed up implementation time. And in addition, you can also manage your own maps with our easy to use drag and drop mapping environment. Combining these with our web services and adapters will help to accelerate your implementation time. So Simplify is an any-to-any translator, which means it can map XML, JSON, EDI, CSV, fixed length text files. We also have conditional business flows that allow you to customize how your documents process through our system. So for example, if you want to run one map for a drop shipment order and another map for a standalone order, you can set up two workflows and add some runtime conditions based on the document type within the 850 purchase order. Simplify also has an easy-to-use mapping environment that has built-in functions. The drag and drop mapping tool, along with our built-in functions, make it easier for non-programmers to build maps and actually understand what happens to their data as it's being processed. We also have some built-in system connectors that make it even easier to connect more of your business systems and processes.
Hey, Michelle, Crystal here.
Hey, Crystal.
We got our first question from our wonderful audience. They're wondering if they're only able to use the built-in functions or if they can add their own code.
Yeah, you can. We actually provide some advanced code features that allow you to add C#, straight C# programming language to build out your own functions within the mapping links. So, great question. So now, do you guys remember, this is a rhetorical question, obviously, but do you remember the last time that you had to make a simple map change? And if you're on managed services, how long that actually took? I do, and I remember it took well over a month to actually get that change completed, which is why I actually started looking and came up with Simplify, with it being fully managed and in the cloud translator. There's no more waiting for creating your own maps. There's no more waiting for making your own changes or even adding new trading partners. You have full autonomy and discretion of your system. You don't have to wait on other teams or companies for any of those builds or changes or to start that testing process. In addition to that full control over your maps, you have a document tracking screen and real-time alerts that make it easy to see what is happening with your documents and your business processes. You have full visibility and control of your data and your maps. So compliance has been a popular buzzword recently. Organizations are increasingly focusing on leveraging technologies such as AI and automation to streamline processes and enhance efficiency. With Simplify, you can leverage your workflows to automate your business needs. Along with that, we have built-in data validation, and that will ensure your partner compliance by reducing errors. Essentially, we just make sure that you have only good data that goes out of our system, and this in turn will reduce chargebacks with your customers. One question that we receive quite a bit is around SOC 2 compliance and security. And so, yes, we are currently SOC 2 certified, and we host our application in Azure, which utilizes their security and their backup technology. As I'm sure some of you know, sometimes the largest task of implementing a new document or trading partner is just building the maps. So with ECGrid Simplify, you can actually utilize our library of system maps as starting points. We have hundreds of pre-built maps that you can use as is, or you can clone them and customize the maps to meet your specific business needs. Within this map library, we have what we call map packs, which are pre-built groups of maps that cover the life cycle of order management in this particular case. Our order to cash map pack includes our XML and JSON simplified definitions to and from EDI. Our Shopify map pack includes bi-directional EDI with Shopify, which includes order creation, shipping notices, product inventory, etc. We also have generic text reports that translate less commonly used EDI documents to human readable reports that can be emailed out to different business groups. And then lastly, we just completed the 850 purchase order, 810 invoice, 856 ASN, and 846 inventory feed maps for Microsoft Business Central. And if you're just starting out with Simplify, I would highly recommend looking through these map packs and looking through the library to help give you a jump start on starting the map process and the trading with your trading partners.
So Michelle, we actually have a question on the map packs, and I'm happy to answer this one. One member of our audience is wondering what maps are included in the order to cash map pack. I can answer that. It is the 850 purchase order, the 860 change, the 856 ASN, and the 810 invoice.
Great. Thank you, Crystal.
Absolutely.
So I know that we have quite a few resellers and ISVs on the call today. And so if you're looking to expand your offering, you can actually utilize ECGrid Simplify to offer managed services to your customers. With this offering, you can add sub-accounts, one for each customer. And then you can also create your own maps, making them private to your environment. And so each of those sub-accounts or each of your customers will have access to your private maps that you just created. They'll also have access to those system maps that are available through that subscription to Simplify. Similar to the ECGrid van, you can also give your customers access to the Simplify environment. Our user permissions are managed by groups, so you can give as little or as much access to your customer's environment as you wish. Also similar to the ECGrid van, Simplify is based off of APIs, which means that you can tie it directly into your platform for real-time document processing, getting document statuses, managing your lookup tables, and also the user management. We have a list of system connectors, and our goal with Simplify is always to create system connectors through APIs whenever possible. APIs allow us to have a seamless and easy integration with our customers and with those platform systems. So I'm sure you would expect Simplify connects seamlessly to the ECGrid network through all the APIs, which really allows for a fast and efficient document transfer up to the van.
Michelle, I've got another question. One of our customers asked if there's anything for SAP iDocs, or would they be starting from ground zero? So would we only be able, or what happens if there's not a connector or a system that we connect to?
So with the SAP iDocs, if it's on-premise, we would have to build those using our document definition builder within Simplify. If it's the cloud, we can connect up to the cloud. We can build a system connector that would connect up to SAP in the cloud, and then that would be another connector that is available within our system. If it is a custom connector that you're looking to build, then that's a conversation that we would have directly with you and see what the requirements are, and then just go from there. Great. Any other questions, Crystal, before I move on to our live demo?
Yeah, actually we do.
Okay.
Somebody was asking about support. So they're wondering if Simplify support is different, and I'm happy to answer that one as well. You will still get the same white glove premium support from the ECGrid support team that those of you who are customers already know and love. You can reach them at support@ecgrid.com.
Great, thank you. That gave me a few minutes to pop over, so good timing. So this next little bit is going to be a demo of our staging environment here. And so the first part I'm going to show is the reseller or the development level account. And so this is where you can customize your brand, you can create maps, you can set up new accounts for new customers, and build out those document definitions that I mentioned around the SAP iDocs. So the landing page here, you just have a dashboard where it gives you all the document counts from all of your different accounts, and then you can also filter it down by specific user. Over here under the profile is where you can have your customized branding. So you can change all of your colors and then upload your logo here as well. Over on the side is where I will navigate over to our mapping library. And as I mentioned before, with the subscription to Simplify, you get access to our entire mapping library. This library right here, it is a mix of both private and public. So this icon indicates whether it is a private map or a public map. If you want to take one of these maps, one of the public maps, you can go ahead and clone it. As soon as you clone the map, then it becomes a private map and you can make your adjustments, and those are private to you and no one else on the system can see them. If you would like to create a map from scratch that's private, you just click that add map, set your source and target document types, and again, that map is exclusive to your system and your customers. Down here are the permission groups. So you can have as many permission groups as you would like. These are then assigned to your users or your accounts. These permission groups can get very granular. So you can give read or read-write access to any one of these menu options here. So if you want someone to just be able to see maps, you can give them just that map access. And then finally, down on the user screen, this is where you would set up your customer accounts. So you can add a new customer account by just clicking here. You can also give another employee of your company access to build maps by setting up giving them the reseller role here. You can manage your customers by logging in to their accounts directly from this screen. So if you click the option to log in, you have two options. You have limited versus full. So the limited will log you in as that user with the permission group assigned. If you choose full, that's full admin rights to that user's account. So once you're in the customer account, you can think of the customer account as the runtime environment. So if you are a direct account, this will be your runtime environment. If you're a reseller, this will be your customer's direct account. So everything in here is defined using flows. So these workflows are how we tell the system how the documents are going to run through and get mapped and translated. So there are two parts to a workflow, there's the trigger and the action. So the trigger is what defines the source document within the map. And it also tells the system how it's going to receive that document. So in this trigger, we are expecting to receive our Simplify XML purchase order through our Windows Service client. Okay. And then from here, you can also set up those conditions that I mentioned earlier. So I set up a condition on this workflow to only process that order if the document order type contains NE. So you can add additional conditions onto this trigger, and you can also group them. So if you add additional conditions, you can have and or, and you can do the same thing for those groups. Then down here in the action, this is what declares the target document for that map. So essentially you're telling the system, I want to take that Simplify XML purchase order and translate it into the 850. And then I'm going to send it out to the ECGrid van from here. You can have multiple actions off of a single trigger. So if you want to also email off one of those generic text reports that I mentioned, you can do that as well. So you can add the email function, add in as many email addresses as you would like. And now this workflow will essentially run 2 maps off of that single triggered document.
Michelle, we've got another question.
Great.
Somebody is wondering if you can have more than one flow run against a document type.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way the system works is if you have 2 workflows that have the same trigger document, it creates a copy of that document so that and then it takes one document and evaluates it against the workflow, and then takes that copy and evaluates it against the second workflow. If the conditions are not met on one of those workflows, then it discards that copied the copy of the document and just processes the document through the workflow with the satisfied conditions. Once you have all your workflows set up and defined, the system will automatically pull the maps into the account for you. And they will, if there's a reseller map available, it will use that reseller map. Otherwise, it will pull in the system map. So we are going to take a look at this Simplify XML purchase order to 850-4010 map. And this is one of the ones in that map pack. So, so we're going to take a look at that. On the right is the source document, and on the left is the source document, and on the right is the target document. And so this is, like I mentioned before, a simple drag and drop environment where you can take a value and just drag it right onto that field. And now you have that link created. So whatever value comes in on group sender will be mapped over to the BEG04. You can unlink that by clicking that icon right there, and that link goes away. You can assign some built-in functions and some data validation directly to the field. So if you right-click on the field and do set validation, it will list out all of our built-in functions here. You can search for them. One of the most commonly used functions that we have for data validation is just simply mandatory. So mandatory, when you apply this to a field, it just ensures that there is data that is present in that field before it continues on mapping the document and continues processing through our system. You can apply data validation to additional functions. So if we choose the date conversion function. Not only does, excuse me, not only does it perform the date conversion, but if you check this required box, it also does a data validation. So it essentially applies that mandatory function on top of the date conversion. And then lastly, up here on this code symbol, I had mentioned earlier with one of the questions about whether you could add your own functions. So with this advanced code slide out, you can add your C# programming function right here directly on that link. So if there's a built-in function that, if there's a function that you need, you can go ahead and you can write it in C# here. If you're not familiar with that, you can email our support department like Crystal mentioned, and we can help you with that logic and maybe even make it into a built-in function so that we can apply the data validation on top of that, that rule. Go back out here.
Hey, Michelle, me again.
Hi.
Hi. We have somebody who said that the mapping tool looks easy to use, but they're wondering if there is training available.
Yes, absolutely. So we offer training in buckets of hours. The most typical training that people sign up for is 4 hours, but you can sign up for as many hours of training as you would like. We also have online video tutorials and some help, knowledge-based articles to help you with mapping and just the function of the system. So after your maps are built, you need to be able to test it, and you need to be able to see the workflows as they process through. So we're going to scoot over to the flow activity screen. And so this screen shows all the documents that have processed through the system. You are able to search for identifiers. And when I use the term identifier, I'm really talking about like the most important numbers in the document that you want to be able to search by. So purchase order number, invoice number, shipment ID, tracking number, those types of things. So as you can see, we have them actually listed right here. If you hover over them, it'll tell you what those numbers actually mean. So we can copy this one, and we're going to search on that value. And so as soon as you type in the value, it pulls back, or it starts searching and pulls back the documents. We have additional filters that you can search on. You can search by just plain old workflow if you have something very specific that you set up. And you can also search on acknowledgement status for those EDI documents, whether they're accepted, rejected, still waiting for the 997. And then you can search by document type and trading partner. On this screen, if you do see some failures, you can hover over it and it will tell you what the error actually is. So in this case, I passed in a 5-character value in the receiver qualifier, which should only have 4. So it failed our EDI syntax checking. But up here, if I hover over it, the message is a little bit different, and it says that the value cannot be empty, and it violated the mandatory rule. So if I expand it from here, we actually provide a UI to fix these validation errors. So if I go into this screen and expand it, it will tell me that the rule assigned is mandatory and the current value is empty. So I can just put in a value here and hit submit, and it will actually run through the validation again in the map and make sure that everything is good with that new value that I entered. Now, if you go back in and reprocess it, it reprocesses the original document. So then it would fail again with that validation error. If I expand out one of these that has been successfully processed, it shows me every step through that the document took through the system. And if you click on the details here, it will show you the source document. And then we've got this XML view here. I like to point this out because if you're building the maps or you're more technical and you're trying to figure out how your data is actually being parsed against your document definition, you can click this XML view and it will parse out that data against the definition. So in this case, it's EDI, but if you had a flat file or a CSV or even XML, it makes it much easier to read and understand how your data is parsed through the system. And then if you select down here, you can see your resulting file as well. Again, you can download it and you still have that XML view. And you can reprocess from any one of these stages here. So if you make a map change, you can come out here and you can reprocess just from that map change. Then from here, I'm going to scoot over to the permissions and users. So the permission groups, they work just like they do with the reseller. You can have customer specific permission groups. So if you don't want to create one at the reseller level, you can always create it here on the customer account. And then we have the manage users. So you can go ahead and add users, additional users to this account. When you add the users, they will only see the data that is specific for their account here.
Hi, Michelle. Somebody is asking if there is a limit to the number of users.
No, there is no limit to the number of users. So if you want to have 20, you can have 20. Yep,
Thank you.
absolutely. Good question. So with that, I'm going to scoot back over to my presentation here. And we're going to go through a use case. So this customer, Fazil, they actually use our Shopify map pack to build out their integrations. So Fazil is a Canadian company that sells artisan items that are handmade in the Himalayas, and they sell them on through Shopify and other e-commerce stores. And the proceeds from their sales go to help local Indian orphanages. So just a really cool company giving back to the community over there. And so when they came to us, they were using Shopify as an ERP. And they were using that to control their inventory and do order intakes. Their largest company, or their largest customer rather, required them to do EDI. And so they were forced to do web EDI for all of their orders and invoices, ASNs, inventory, everything. And so that meant that there was a lot of manual entry into Shopify, manual entry into the web forms, and it was, as you can imagine, very error prone and time consuming. So with that, they found us, and we were able to streamline their business. And what we do is the 850 purchase order comes in, and it creates an order directly into Shopify. And it actually uses the pricing that is on the 850 rather than the pricing that's listed in their Shopify store. Then once the order is shipped complete, then it triggers a webhook in our system that then sends an 856 from Shopify out to the trading partner. And then it also creates an invoice within the QuickBooks, within their QuickBooks Online system. And then once that invoice is created, then we extract from QuickBooks all the information we need to create that 810 to send out to the trading partner. And then lastly, for their inventory feeds, we actually run an inventory feed once in the morning, once in the evening, and we create that 846 and send it out to their trading partner. So all in all, we have been able to, with that streamlined process, we save Faisal around 30 hours a month, give or take, for that they were spending on manual entry and just correcting errors from typos, all that sort of stuff. And now it just runs seamlessly in the background, and they don't even know it runs. So it's been a pretty good and slick implementation for them. So that brings us to the Q&A section. So if you have any questions, we have answers. Bring them.
Yes, please put all of your questions in the Q&A section below, but we do have a couple that came in that I saved just for this section here. So we're going to start with, somebody asked if you can expand a little bit on what Microsoft Business Central is. They're wondering if it's a new name for the Dynamics ERP.
That is exactly what it is. Yep. It is their new Dynamics ERP. They renamed it to Business Central.
Great, thank you. And another question we have is, they said Google Drive is not as specific as others in this list. What does it mean for system connectors?
So with Google, with Google Drive, what we do is we kind of use it similar to an SFTP connection. So we can grab files from Google Drive, and then we can put files up to Google Drive. If there's additional functionality you need within that, then we can take that offline and discuss what your needs would be and how we might be able to expand our offering with the Google Drive connector.
Great. Somebody is wondering if it can also, as in Simplify, do OneDrive and SharePoint in addition to Google Drive.
Yes, that's actually in our backlog to do something very similar to Google Drive, where we connect into OneDrive and read the documents in and put them back out there. Yep, absolutely. Great.
Michelle, does Simplify do acknowledgement reconciliation?
Yes, it does. It does it both ways. As soon as we receive in an EDI document, we automatically send out a 997 acknowledging that document. If it failed syntax checking, we send out a rejected 997. And then for the outbound EDI documents, we receive the 997s and match them up, and then we mark in that flow activity screen whether they've been accepted, rejected, or if they're still expecting that acknowledgement. And then we also have a report that you can set up that will run every evening, and it'll go back N number of days that you want, that will send out a list of any documents that have been not acknowledged. If you want all of the documents, they'll list it, but based off that status, so whatever status you select. And then we also have the report available through API as well.
Great. We do have quite a few questions pouring in, so we're going to keep going here. For Shopify, can ECGrid create draft orders from an 850?
Yes, that is just a status on the order creation. So with the Faisal case study that I mentioned, we create them just as firm orders because that's what they want, but it's just a status field on the document when we create it.
Great. And Michelle, I'm getting some questions on connections, like specific connections as in AS2 and SFTP. Can you expand a little bit on, what connections are and are not allowed into Simplify?
Sure. So AS2, we use the ECGrid network for that because they already have a fantastic AS2 tool within their platform.
Yes, they do.
And then for SFTP, we do have a connector that will put and get files from an SFTP server. That is built into Simplify. If you need an SFTP server, then we can utilize the ECGrid VAN and the MFT functionality within ECGrid to host the SFTP connection through mailboxes. And Simplify does have the ability to connect to MFT mailboxes on the ECGrid network.
Great. Here's another one for you. Does ECGrid work with QuickBooks Desktop, creating invoice and sending 810s?
Not at this time. It has been talked about potentially putting on the roadmap, but right now the QuickBooks Desktop it does not connect to. It only does online.
Okay. And then we did have somebody come in late, so we want to make sure that their questions are addressed also. If they choose CSV instead of API, how does the CSV get into their ERP? So I think you had just talked about connectivity, but if you could just go over that one again real quick.
Sure. There's a couple options that you have to get that CSV into your system. So one is if you have an SFTP server, we can connect into that and put the file there. If you have an FTP or an SFTP client, we can put the file up to the ECGrid MFT mailbox, and you can get it from there using the SFTP client. There's also another option that I briefly mentioned when I was going through the flows, and we have this Windows Service client that you can download. And what that is it's a lightweight application that you install on your server that connects to Simplify through the API calls. And so what it does is it monitors a directory, and as soon as a file is dropped in that directory, it uploads that file to Simplify. And then when a file is available to be downloaded, it will automatically download that file onto your server. And then once that file's on your server, then you can move it to wherever you need to import into your ERP.
Okay, great. And I know everybody is wondering, we did get a question for this on what the pricing is. Do you want to just touch on that real quick? I know it's going to vary based on requirements.
Yeah. So the pricing, we normally will set up a private conversation about that, but just in general, the pricing is based off of document counts. So the more traffic, so we have bundles based off of different traffic levels, whether you have 100 documents or 10,000 documents. So it all just varies based off your traffic. And so I would encourage you to reach out to our sales department if you want more information on the pricing.
And just a reminder, the sales team can be reached at sales@ecgrid.com. I did get...
Or you can...
Oh, yes.
Or you can email info@ecgrid.com right there too.
Right.
Yeah.
So we don't currently have any other questions at the moment, but Michelle, why don't you just tell us kind of what one of your favorite things about ECGrid Simplify is, while we wait for all of the audience to send me another question.
Honestly, everything. It's hard for me to pick one specific feature, but I really love how easy the mapping tool is, and just the flexibility that you have with it between our built-in functions and being able to do your own code. It just makes it so much easier to make small adjustments to maps, get new trading partners up and running, because you can copy a map and apply it to the new trading partner and just make some small tweaks. So that's probably my favorite, but I mean, I love the whole thing. So otherwise I wouldn't be here promoting it.
Yeah, I would say, I've been working with the Simplify product for well over a year now, and I just think it's very intuitive. It's, as you just said, it's very simple. Simplify is simple, but it's very intuitive, and it really just does everything that it needs to do.
Yep.
And actually, so we do have another question. What is the typical turnaround time on getting a new customer up and running? That's a great question.
So it depends on, so by customer, I'm assuming you mean trading partner. So it depends on if you already have, or if we already have maps, like base maps built or system maps built. If system maps are built, I have gotten a trading partner up and running within a matter of days. If the maps need to be built still, then you have to probably add another week or two onto it. But once you have that base map and you just need to customize it to that trading partner specifications, it really doesn't take too long at all because you're just making little tweaks here and there for qualifiers, additional fields, that type of thing. So hopefully that
Great,
answers the
thank you.
question. Yeah.
Here's another one. If I receive map specs from a retailer in the format of a PDF file, then how do I get them into a map?
Yeah, so right now, that's the good old-fashioned way of looking at the PDF and making the adjustments yourself. I have been thinking about ways to bring in a PDF reader and trying to bring in the specs automatically, but right now they're just kind of thoughts, and but you have to unfortunately do it the uh, the long way right now.
Gotcha. All right, we've got them coming in now. Do you have a standard template of a CSV for the different document types? Great question.
Yeah, that is a great question. We have several CSV examples for different document types. So there's a couple that I would recommend, and obviously I would do this off the webinar through a like a 30-minute meeting, but there we do have some that are pretty generic that could be easily reused for whatever your needs are, whether you want to convert it to Excel or import into a database. There are some that you could easily reuse for sure.
Okay, we've got another great question. Is it possible to import specs using an XLSX or CSV file?
Um, that one is kind of a maybe question or answer. So we have the ability to import in uh, an Excel document that from a map. So essentially, if you create a map and you can export it into an Excel document from Simplify, and then from there, you can actually import that into another account or, we can import it as a system map as well for that matter. And so you could adjust that Excel document for the links and import it in, although I will put an asterisk by that in that typos happen and it's much easier to use our mapping GUI than editing an Excel document. But so from that aspect, yes, you can import in specifications, but again, we're still kind of kicking around from the EDI specifications in general.
Thank you, Michelle. If certain customers have been mapped by others, for example, Amazon, Fastenal, or Granger, can they be shared or are they made public?
They can be made public, and so once they're public, then they are available to everyone to be shared. But initially, when they create those Amazon or Walmart specific maps, it's at the customer account level, and those are private maps for that customer account. So we would have to export that out and then we could import it in at the system level. So if you have this awesome map that you've created and you want to share it with us, we will 100% load that for Amazon for others to use.
Great. So we have another question. Do you also support broker-related documents such as 875s and 880s?
Yep.
And then
absolutely.
a follow-up on that is, what about carbon copies to other parties?
Yep. So we support all EDI documents. So in all the standards. So even though in my webinar I just showed 850, 810, 856, we can 100% do those 700 series documents. As far as carbon copy, we would do that on the ECGrid network. So they already have that the van already has carbon copy built into it. So we would use that for the carbon copy. Now, you could create another flow that would essentially run that same exact map through and has a different endpoint if it needed to go to an FTP or an SFTP server.
Okay.
You could do it that way as well.
Great. Can you insert directly into SQL databases?
No, not at this time. We cannot.
Thank you for that.
I would recommend producing a CSV, then having a stored proc inserted into those SQL databases.
Okay, great. Do we have predefined 856 SOPI and SOIP? In other words, how is the HL looping set in an 856?
So the 856 document, we have added 6 layers of HL loops so that when someone needs to create a map, they can create whatever structure they need using the those HL loops. So if one trading partner is SOPI and another trading partner is SOTPI, then you can adjust that trading partner's map to include that additional HL loop, but it's already in the definition. So usually the 856 is very flat. It just has one HL. We actually did 6 nested ones to allow for more flexibility for our customers.
Okay. Awesome. I just got the heads up that we have time for one more question. And we have that question here. If we chose to set up an API, could someone at ECGrid create the API on their system, and how much would that cost?
Yep. So that would fall under the custom connectors, and the cost would depend on the reusability of that connector for other customers or tenants on our system. So that would be where we'd have to have a separate scoping call on it and figure out what your needs would be, and then just kind of go from there and see what we can do for you.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle. Before I hand this back off to Linda, I'm going to let everybody know that more questions can be sent to us. And Michelle, I wanted to also let you know that one of our current customers said the Simplify team are excellent and the customers love the product. We really appreciate our customers also. Thank you for that, that great shout out. You know who you are.
Thank you.
Linda, Michelle, thank you so much. This was awesome. I'm going to hand it off to Linda.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah, thank you, both of you, Michelle and Crystal, for the great introduction to ECGrid Simplify, which undoubtedly will revolutionize many businesses, retailers, vendors, and service providers alike. So with this limited time, we went quickly, barely scratched the surface. Again, we encourage you to reach out to us to go into more detail with specifics for your respective company. So whether you're already an ECGrid user or not, info@ecgrid.com is the best way to get a hold of our team. And those of you that work with us already know that we will respond rather quickly. Folks, you have been a fine audience. Thank you for your participation and thoughtful questions. Expect to see a short email in the next couple of days asking for your feedback on this session, which we would very much appreciate so we can continue to serve you better. So on behalf of everyone here at Lauren Data ECGrid, we wish you a great rest of your day. Thanks again, and bye for now.